Tether is back at it again. More lying, more printing, over $300 million this time, and more of those beloved BART heads. No, but seriously, Tether is currently crashing once again, and it's leading me to question why people are still blindly following Tether when there are so many other proven stablecoins that you can use instead. Seriously, Tether is not stable. Look at the price movement. I don't care if you trust Bitfinex or not, Tether is doing a horrible job at what it's meant to do. Therefore, it is a bad stablecoin, and you should consider moving over to something that is actually stable. Now, before I get into this video about what's going on with Tether today, I do want to say that this video is not financial advice, and I recommend you do your own research before entering or closing any positions. Now, previously on this channel, I did cover the last USD Tether crash, in which Tether went down around 20% in value to 80 cents, and that video was met with some criticism, although I would not say it was very constructive. People were saying that I was trying to make the markets crash, I was putting FUD into the market, and that their money was safe in Tether. Now, hopefully this video today will make you rethink that with new evidence that has surfaced. However, I highly recommend that you guys research Tether before putting money into it. I would say it is a much riskier asset than meets the eye, and just because it's the biggest stablecoin does not mean that it is legitimate and that the company behind it has good intentions. Now, if you guys don't know what happened in the previous Tether crash, Tether was forced to switch banks and Bitfinex was getting mass withdrawals from people who wanted to secure their money. What happened is Bitfinex was in the process of switching over banks to a new bank for Tether as well as Bitfinex themselves, and during this process, one of the banks denied their application, meaning that Bitfinex did not have a bank to store their money and people were freaking out. Not only did Bitcoin go down in value, but Tether crashed massively. And during this time frame, people were worried that Tether and Bitfinex would shut down and it would become another Mt. Gox. Now, the good thing is it was resolved after, as Bitfinex said that there were no issues and everyone's money was withdrawn from the exchange. Now, the good thing is this was resolved fairly quickly. Only a few days after the crash, Bitfinex came out and said that everyone's withdrawals were filled and that Tether was still backed 1-for-1 by US dollar, and to top it all off, they had a new bank that would support all the money for everyone's withdrawals and everyone's money was safe. Now, sadly, it wasn't as simple as that, and that was found out today as new information surfaced from a New York lawyer. Now, what ended up happening is during this time when Tether was crashing in value and people were really afraid of what was going to happen to Bitfinex, a lot of people were withdrawing their money, as I previously mentioned. Now, Bitfinex was not readily able to get access to these funds quick enough in order to fill all of the withdrawals, so they were forced to use customer and companies' funds, including those from Tether, to support the Bitfinex withdrawals at that time. So this activity was not disclosed by Bitfinex, and Bitfinex is now being called out for fraud by one of the top lawyers in the state of New York. Now, I want to read you this quote from a senior Bitfinex executive during this time, just to show you guys how crazy this situation was. Please understand, all this could be extremely dangerous for everybody, the entire crypto community. Bitcoin could tank to 1,000 if we don't act quickly. This shows just how scared Bitfinex executives were at the time when USD Tether and Bitcoin was crashing. They were afraid that if everyone lost trust in USD Tether, that the entire market would collapse somewhere to $1,000 and their entire company would be destroyed if they didn't fill these withdrawals. If they didn't recover from this as fast as possible, they were afraid that it would have a huge negative effect on the crypto market, something that they would not be able to recover from, and so that's why they were forced to use other company funds in order to fill those withdrawals. Now, although it might sound like they did the right thing, and you might be saying, well, at least they filled those withdrawals, the other thing you have to think about is, why didn't Bitfinex have this money available anyway? If people had deposited their money earlier, why couldn't they just use their funds from the Bitfinex exchange in order to fill these withdrawals, instead of having to go over to their USD Tether reserves in order to fill these withdrawals? I think it is extremely sketchy and extremely scary to hear, and obviously the market reflects my opinion as we are seeing Tether go below $1 once again, as well as Bitcoin crash from one of the highest prices we've seen in quite a while, 5,600, all the way down to 5,000 in a matter of hours. So clearly the market is extremely scared. Now, if we look at the amount of Tether that is in circulation, during the period of the bear market on Bitcoin, we did see the amount in circulation go down quite a bit, and that is to be expected as people were likely taking their profits or exiting positions and they wanted United States dollar. However, one thing that is extremely suspicious recently with Tether in the recent months is that the amount of Tether in circulation has skyrocketed. As I mentioned earlier, just the other day, there was $300 million worth of new Tether going into circulation. And the other interesting thing that I do want to mention about that is that during this period in which Tether has been printed immensely, we have seen this bull market coming from some of the lowest prices that we've seen in a while. So one thing you could say about that is that Bitfinex and USD Tether may have been manipulating the market once again in order to see higher prices than I personally or other people may have been expecting. I personally thought that the $5,000 level would be the top of this bull run that we saw recently. However, we saw it go all the way up to $5,600. So it's extremely interesting to see the fact that the amount of Tether has been going up in circulation while the price has been artificially getting higher. It's extremely interesting to see that correlation. Now, obviously take that however you want. Maybe you guys think it has nothing to do with the Bitcoin price, but you can't deny the fact that there has been a lot of Tether going into circulation. So what's my plan in this market and what do I expect to happen? Now, obviously, there is a huge cult following behind Bitfinex and Tether, and I highly doubt that the market is truly going to crash or end up in any negative long-term way because of Tether. I think that this move that we're currently seeing on Bitcoin, this dump, is something that should have happened earlier actually whenever we first hit 5,000, and now that Tether has been pushed out of its manipulation due to this negative news, I think we're finally going to see those lows, and I think even though Tether is below $1 right now and it might go lower, I don't think it's going to go down to 80 cents like it did before, and I think of course we are going to recover back to the $1 mark over time. Now, that being said, do I think you should keep your money in Tether if you are going to stay in cryptocurrency long term? Absolutely not. Now that we have proof of sketchy practices done by Bitfinex and Tether, I would 100% say keep your money out of Tether. I would put your money into something like True USD or TUSD or USDC, which is owned by Coinbase. These are two stable coins that are actually backed by the dollar and can be withdrawn for the dollar very easily. So I highly recommend, if you guys have USD Tether right now, maybe consider exiting soon and moving over to a stable coin that is run by a much more legitimate and reputable company like Coinbase that is actually regulated in the US. Anyways, guys, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Hopefully you have enjoyed the coverage of USD Tether today and the news that has come out about it. And see you guys in the next video.